Welcome to Raw and Real Real Estate with your host, Marysol Ortiz. Here, we cut through the noise and have honest conversations about the housing market. Each episode brings you real insights, stories, and perspectives from inside the industry, so you can better understand what's really happening in real estate today. Welcome back to Raw and Real Real Estate. I'm your host, Marysol Ortiz, and today we're going to be talking about a very important topic that all first-time homeowners should know about, and that is homeowners insurance. This is something that is required when you purchase a home, but unfortunately, not a lot of people know what it costs, how it works, and how to avoid costly mistakes. So to unpack all of this, I have today with me Yvonne. She is an insurance agent with many years of experience in the industry, and she's been helping homeowners guide through this process. From understanding deductibles and replacement costs to knowing what's actually covered, Yvonne is going to give us the insider scoop. If you're buying your first home, or even if you already own one, you're going to want to take notes on this episode. So let's jump right in. And remember, if you find this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend who might find this helpful. Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to learning a lot from you. And so why don't you go ahead and share with our listeners a little bit about you so that they can get to know you.
Thank you, Marysol. Thank you for having me. I've been an agent exclusively with farmers for 25 years here in El Paso. And I have a team of about 15 full-time employees. Most of them are fully licensed. And what can I tell you, Marysol? 25 years have gone by so quickly, but they've been a lot of fun.
That's good. That's great. So I'm going to go ahead and just kick this off by going directly to our questions. And I'm going to start very basic. What exactly is homeowners insurance, and why is it required when buying a home?
Okay, so homeowners insurance is basically a contract between the insured and an insurer, and it covers basic perils in case of a certain loss. One of the things that I see very often is that clients will confuse homeowners insurance to the mortgage insurance that is included in the closing documents, or even home warranty. So the way I like to explain to clients is that the homeowner policy will cover you for very specific losses. So it doesn't cover, wear and tear, or, the fact that your roof is old and it needs replacement. So it's not a maintenance policy. It will cover you for very specific perils.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that, because I do think that homeowners or future homeowners often do confuse the three, and it's very important to be able to differentiate between all three. I do like to do first-time homebuyer orientations with my clients, and I explain to them the difference between homeowners insurance, and I explain to them the difference between a home warranty. And I do, which this is going to be another topic, but I do kind of explain to them that home warranty kind of covers what your homeowner's insurance does not. Of course, you have to check coverage, but thank you for explaining that. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next question. Can you explain the main components of a standard policy? For example, dwelling, liability, personal property, all those terms that we see in our policies.
Yes. So again, talking about homeowners insurance, it'll cover you for certain perils, and the basic policy or standard policy that you'll see in a homeowner package will cover your structure, which is the dwelling, and the way I like to explain it is it's the actual shell of the home. And then you have your personal property. Everything inside the home is also covered. For example, personal property will be your items that you bring into the home, your furnishings, electronics, all of your personal items. Liability will cover, for example, any lawsuit coming or arising from an incident that happens in the property. So someone trips, falls. A common loss that we see is, you have a pet, it gets out, bites somebody, you get sued. If you have a swimming pool, someone gets hurt, trampoline. There's a lot of examples, but basically there's a lawsuit. If it happened in your property, the liability will basically cover you up to the coverage amount, and it will they will cover you for either defending the lawsuit or to pay out the claim.
Okay, perfect. So tell me if I got this right.
Mm-hmm.
So your dwelling is going to be the shell of the home. That's what's being covered in the dwelling portion. Liability is in case there's a lawsuit due to any accident, like you mentioned, dog hurting someone or somebody slipping and breaking their hip, whatever. And then personal property obviously is pretty self-explanatory. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. What factors would affect the cost of my policy?
So in today's insurance world, there's a lot of factors. So there's the structure itself, the square footage, the specifics, the construction of the home, the year of the home, the year of the roof. All of them play a factor. The amount of, or if there's any prior losses on the property, or any claim history that you might carry from, let's say if you're a first-time home buyer and there's nothing wrong with it, but they do look at, if you had a renter's policy and if you had prior claims. So the claim history, where in the past it used to be just evaluated on 3 years, now they can look up to 5 years back. Mm-hmm. There's also the factor of there is a soft credit hit.
Okay.
So it's more of like a consumer report that they look at, and so it is tied a bit to the credit. So again, it's a soft hit. It doesn't affect I think this is very important. A lot of people think when they're shopping for homeowners insurance, they're a first-time home buyer, they're very they kind of push back a little as far as providing all their personal information. But the more information that the insurer has, even the better rating you're able to get.
Great. Well, that's good to know, because I think a lot of first-time homeowners ignore the fact that insurance companies are not just looking at the property itself.
Correct.
So be careful what you're doing. No, it's, as you mentioned, also going to, if you have renter's insurance, that'll influence your policy cost and your claim history, you said?
Correct.
As well, and your credit with that soft pull.
Yes.
Okay. So can you break down what a deductible is and how it impacts premiums and claims?
Okay. So deductibles right now in the market, we've seen an increase of a standard deductible, where in the past maybe a $500 or $1,000 deductible was common. Right now you're seeing that most insurers will cover a 2% of the dwelling coverage amount. So, and that is just for wind and hail, okay? The deductible is a percentage of the coverage of the dwelling. So, in simple terms, if we're insuring the home for $300,000 and it's placed at a 2% for wind and hail, then it would be a $6,000 deductible, right? You have in a standard homeowner package 3 deductibles. So, at least here in Texas, it's wind and hail is your first deductible. The second is tropical storm, and the third is all other losses. So, all other losses would be, and I'll explain right now in a bit what perils are standard. But the one that you can modify or probably go a little lower is the all other losses. The perils in a basic homeowner policy means what you would be covered for, and the standard is fire, lightning, windstorm, hail, explosion, vandalism, theft, and smoke damage. Okay, so those are the ones that are going to fall on all other. The deductible is pretty much the portion that you would be responsible for at the moment that you file a claim. So, for example, let's say there was a large hailstorm and you have to replace your roof, and it's going to be $30,000. So the first $6,000 are going to be your responsibility. What the insurance company does is they will deduct, although of course the deductible, excuse the redundance, but they will reduce your deductible and pay out the difference.
Gotcha. And it's no redundancy because that's exactly what we want to hear. We want to hear, it sounds self-explanatory, but it's not, because a lot of us get confused with all these terms. So thank you for explaining that. I do often tell my first-time home buyers, and I recommend to everyone that when they are purchasing a home, they should save 1 to 2% of their home's value on a yearly basis. And I tell them, put it in a piggy bank. Do not touch it. Christmas time may come around. Don't go shopping with that money. Save it, because maybe nothing happens to your home that year. Maybe it doesn't need any maintenance, but what if next year we get a hailstorm hitting? And I literally tell them that could be the deductible money that you have handy in order to be able to get your roof repaired. So it's very important to always be prepared for those sort of emergencies. Yes, you have coverage. Yes, you have your insurance company that's going to come out and help you out. But remember, you've got that responsibility that's out of your pocket with that deductible.
Correct.
Next question that I have for you. I often hear 100% replacement cost. What does this really mean?
Okay, so in an insurance package, you have 2 options. One is actual cash value, and the other is replacement cost. The replacement cost is you have it applied on the structure itself, which is a dwelling, and or on the personal property as well. So what it means is that when you have 100% replacement cost, the insurance company is obligated to pay the replacement of for example, the home, the structure, or the roof, or your TV or your furnishings. So with the years, and I'm going to use it what's the most common example is the roof. You've had a home and the roof is 20 years old. Obviously, there's a depreciation of the years, right? And so what the insurance company is going to do is they're going to depreciate your roof, and then they're going to pay you, what the roof amount is based on the year of the loss. And so when you have replacement costs, you remove that. That part is actual cash value. With 100% replacement costs, they're just going to pay what it is to replace the roof. Right now, what we're seeing in the market is that a lot of insurance companies will not offer 100% replacement cost on roof unless it's between 10 to 15 years old. It just depends on the material. So because of that, I highly recommend that that you do speak to an insurance professional when you are looking for homeowners insurance, because the rule can change from one home to another, what the availability of replacement cost is.
Okay. And I'm going to piggyback on that because as somebody who helps buyers and sellers every day buy and sell homes, I think that damaged roofs, older roofs, and when I say older, I'm referring to a roof that's older than 10 years, those are probably some of the biggest challenges that my buyers and sellers encounter. And I'm actually going to tie this up into the next question. Let me tell you what happened to me. Let me tell you what happened to my buyer. So I've been working with the buyer, and this buyer put a home under contract. He submitted an offer. The offer was accepted. Yay, we're happy, we're excited. Next thing we're doing is running inspections on this home. And unfortunately, the inspector found that the roof, had hail damage. So we went back and requested from the sellers to have that roof looked at by a contractor. So we had several contractors come to the property, and yes, they all agreed that the property had hail damage. What proceeded from that is that the sellers filed an insurance claim to get that roof replaced, and allegedly the insurance company denied the claim on the fact that they claimed that they have no reports of hailstorms here in El Paso back, I don't recall how many years, but bottom line, this insurance claim was denied. We waited for about a month, and unfortunately this was not something that was resolved. So my buyer had to just walk away from this purchase, and now we're back on the market looking for more properties. But can you explain what a homeowner that is in this seller's shoes do?
Okay, so I've seen that happen as well. And what the insurance company looks at is from the day that you took ownership of the home and the day that the insurance policy started. So what probably could have happened in that instance is that in the period of when there was a hailstorm in that area, maybe the client was insured with another company. And so it's more of what date was the last, for example, if I were to be looking at it, I would ask the client, well, first we would look for when was the last hailstorm in the area. And that's public information. So you could look it up.
FEMA?
Yeah, well, online.
Or just Google.
The last hailstorm in your zip code area. So if legitimately there was hail, you would have to look at the date of the last hailstorm. And then if that particular seller owned the home in that day, they need to file the claim, or would needed to have filed the claim with that particular insurance carrier. So it's happened to me in the past where clients have, have switched insurance, and let's just say that they did have a bit of hail, and it wasn't detected, at the time of switching insurance. They didn't go up, check their roof, and so. What's happened to us is that they've closed on the home, and at the time that the insurance policy started, there wasn't a hailstorm. So that's really what the insurance company looks at. So maybe I would have gone a little bit further and said, okay, when was the last time that it hailed, and did you own the house at that time? And then you can go back and file the claim with that company. What is very important to bring up as well is that a lot of insurance companies, the same, are going back to, if you had any sort of damage, you have a year to report the claim. So a piece of advice, what I tell clients is, just like it's important to review, your coverages, your policy, it's also very important to inspect your roof, because sometimes you could say, oh, well, there was hail, but it wasn't big enough to cause damage. Or I was out of town, I didn't find out, I didn't know it was, that large of a hailstorm. And sometimes it doesn't rain in El Paso. Often, sometimes, so you'll go months without knowing the damage that you might have. So inspection of your roof should be an annual thing, precisely to avoid so much time to go by before detecting a damage.
That's a great piece of advice, because I think a lot of people just change homeowners insurance. I know I do. And I know I don't make sure to get up on my roof and see what the condition of the roof is. I just assume my roof is okay. And our weather here is crazy in El Paso. Right now it's sunny, but in 5 minutes it can start raining and hailing. Big hail balls for 3 minutes, and then the hailstorm is over. So it's just crazy out here, and I think that's a great piece of advice. We just need to also not procrastinate, right? You mentioned you have a year to file whatever claim you need to file if you know something has happened to your property. So if you had that hailstorm, make sure you get on it. Don't say tomorrow, and then the year's over. Okay. My next question is, what are the most common insurance claims that you see here in El Paso?
Okay, that's a great question. The most common by far is water damage. Well, water damage is of an issue, and water damage can be, for example, a pipe that bursts. We don't cover, for example, the electrical or the plumbing itself, unless you have a plumbing endorsement and it's a limited coverage. But the damage that the water causes at the time of, the pipe burst. What I've seen is that there's times where, most of our clients are at work. They didn't, detect it, and so the water actually sat there for quite some time. That's what causes damage, because if it's detected right away, usually the water mitigation is fast, and so on. But it's just the sitting of the water that sometimes causes a lot of damage. And so because of that, for example, if you have wood floors, if it was a pipe in the kitchen and it's your kitchen cabinets, it could create quite a bit of a loss,
And so this water damage that you often see, is it usually from plumbing, or will it come also from rain?
That's an excellent question. And I say that because most people get confused as to what exactly is, covered. Water damage, it has to be sudden and accidental. So rain is not accidental. It's usually a pipe that burst. We don't cover leakage. For example, something that's been ongoing for months, that's a leak, not an overflow of water. So specifically, there has to be a gush, an overflow of water that causes the damage. And if you think about it, you have a deductible. So, usually it has to be extensive damage for it to merit filing a claim. But what they look for is, again, if there was a pipe that burst, they will ask, and they will ask for receipts of plumbing and so on. It could be also from the boiler. If there's an overflow of water from the boiler, we don't cover the boiler because, remember, that's maintenance, that's part of your appliances and so on. But we will cover the damage that the water will cause.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. This is a good one. What are the biggest mistakes that you think people make when choosing a policy to go with?
So the biggest mistake is really not focusing on your coverages and focusing just on price. Because most of the time, what you will see is that you're either sacrificing, big coverages, that the deductible, you're surprised to really know that it wasn't how you expected it to be, and also not being informed of what is and what isn't covered, because if you have the time to sit or to talk with an insurance professional, they can easily guide you through the process of the purchase. Because I know nowadays with technology, and I think you see it the same as a realtor, clients have access to a lot of information. But sometimes, you need to make sure that a professional's looking at, specifically your home, specifically your roof, specifically your situation, and be able to guide you through the purchasing process. Otherwise, you could be sacrificing a coverage. You could get, probably any online policy and not realize that, you are sacrificing that coverage. Because again, what I've seen is home is probably the biggest asset that most people have. Why would you not want it properly insured?
There's a saying out there, lo barato sale caro.
Oh, yeah.
And which means, I guess if I was to translate that, the cheapest way or the inexpensive way ends up being the expensive way.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that when we are trying to get the best monthly payment on our mortgage, we look at factors that we can change, and really what we can control the most is our insurance policy. And it may be tempting to say, I'm just going to save a little bit of money on my monthly mortgage payment by getting a cheaper policy. And as you mentioned, once some damage happens to your home, then you're going to have to fork up that money to get that taken care of, or perhaps you're going to find out that there really is no coverage. So how are you going to find yourself out of that? So that, you said, going with the most inexpensive or cheapest policy is one of the mistakes. And the other one that you mentioned, can you remind me what it was?
Yes, the not meeting maybe with a professional, because your situation is probably not the same to your neighbors, the house, the year, the specifics of your home, and just having that peace of mind of, okay, did I really get everything, covered, or so on? Because there is a lot of other additional optional coverages on a homeowner policy that could be of value to you, and you didn't even know that they existed.
That's good. Just discussing all options.
Mm-hmm.
Even if in the end you say, hey, you know what? No, that's not for me right now. That's not something that I want, or that's not something that I want to budget for. At least have the knowledge, be aware what's available, and maybe sometime later you can come back and revisit.
Yeah, especially because if you think about it, in a 20-minute visit, we could pinpoint maybe exposures that you might have different. You have a swimming pool, I don't. You probably need higher limits of liability. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the last thing you'd want to see is, someone get hurt, they end up in the hospital, and you have $1 million lawsuit, Well, nobody explained that to me. Mm-hmm. So that's what an insurance agent professional should be able to help you mitigate any of those exposures, I think that's one. The other is in the whole process, it's not that you're going to add any additional coverage, but you're really going to understand fully your package. specifically.
Mm-hmm. And how often would you say, or would you recommend that we revisit our homeowners insurance or update it?
So there's life changes. So for example, you don't want to wait, a year to visit if you did a renovation, for example. If you added solar panels, if you did build a pool, you know, the moment that you do any minor renovations or updates to your home, it's important that you notify and have open communication with your insurance agent. And then at least, yes, once a year. Because again, things can change. And even if they don't change, you never know. There might be a new package out there, something probably a little more favorable for you within the same company, you know. So I always invite my clients to visit us, to come in. I always tell them, remember, we're here. We always have coffee. It's important to have that open relationship with who is handling your insurance.
You had me at coffee. So another big topic here in the El Paso market is solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
They are a huge deal. So what can you tell me about solar panels? Are they insurable?
They are. However, they're insured for hail. Again, if what I see a lot is that there's a lot of leased solar panels, and so there you would have to check your contract with the company that's leasing or financing or so on. But if you straight out purchase your solar panels, you need to notify the insurance company, because again, it's something that we would have to endorse on the policy and include it. And of course, there is an additional cost. It's not outrageous, but there is a cost to add them in. And so it's going to be the cost can vary just based on the amount of solar panels, but it would be covered in case of a hailstorm.
Okay. So that, I think, if you want any more coverage, you do have to look into whatever warranty you have available with the company you are purchasing them with, which I have seen. I have seen where when a property is sold from, it goes from one homeowner to the next, they will often tell the new homeowner, hey, call this company. There's a warranty that you can get, or it's transferable. It's not, all that good stuff. Now we're going to go into flood insurance. I'm curious, what percentage of homes, if you could say, here in El Paso require flood insurance?
So I think that's an excellent question, because I think it's also important to note first that that flood insurance is not part of a standard coverage in a homeowner policy. So flood insurance is a separate policy. Lenders, when you're purchasing a home and you have a mortgage on the property, will sometimes require you to have flood insurance depending if the home is in a flood zone. So it is something that if it's in a flood zone, that will be required. Pricing varies based if you're in a high flood zone or in a preferred flood zone. I've seen clients have to pay probably as little as $300 more a year to include flood insurance, up to maybe even $2,000. So it's really important that when you are searching for a home, there's certain areas that are specifically in flood zones. And so it's important to know that ahead of time, because you would have to end up carrying two policies. And basically, flood insurance is any water or rainwater coming in, from the outside into your home. And so, like I said, flood insurance, also earthquake insurance, is not something that's standard. So if you live in an area or you're concerned that is also something that, we would have to add on separately.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If there is one piece of advice you would give every homeowner when it comes to homeowners insurance, what would it be?
Most of the times I see that clients file claims not knowing or really being informed as to what is covered and what is not. So when we talked earlier about what are the factors or determining factors in rate or pricing, even the frequency of claims can actually move you from a preferred rating or package to sometimes not even having availability because you've had several claims.
Even if they're not paid out?
Okay, well, let me tell you what I see. Most people will say, I never filed a claim. I just called to inquire. So then what I tell clients is, when you call to inquire, make sure you call to inquire with your insurance agent so they can guide you.
Gotcha.
Yes, because when you immediately call the company, the 1-800 number, in order for them to send out an adjuster, for example, they have to open up a claim. So you want to make sure that you open up, I'm not saying don't open up a claim, I'm just saying make sure that you've gotten estimates, that you're sure that the claim's going to be above your deductible, because you probably do have a legitimate claim.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it doesn't even meet your deductible and you already filed a claim and it ends up being a zero paid out, denied claim? Yes. So that's where I still, it's kind of like in your industry as a realtor, you are the professional. That's why you're there. You guide people through the buying process. As an insurance agent, we have clients, and we try to have clients for the years to come. And building that relationship with your agency is really important, because they should be your to-go-to, because you probably won't remember a year from now everything that we went through, or simply you forgot you had a $6,000 deductible and the claim was $5,000. So it's important to speak to a professional, review your options, get estimates before, and then file a claim. And like I said, the just getting to know your policy is really, really important, and what is, and more importantly, what is not covered.
Okay, and what is one piece of advice your little heart is dying to give to anyone out there in regards to any type of insurance that you offer?
So, thank you for asking that. That's a wonderful question. Again, going back to mitigating, any exposure of loss. I think if you find an insurance agent that is not trying to sell you a policy, but is trying to help you put your specific needs in maybe an umbrella of package or coverage, it's important to look at it all. Not just a home, but your autos. Look at, are you eligible, or are you someone that will need an umbrella policy? So for example, we have clients that are professionals or business owners and have assets to protect. And so why would you carry, you have a swimming pool, like I talked about earlier, you have a swimming pool in your home, and you've got maybe, a few expensive vehicles, and so are you going to carry the minimum coverage? And so that's where an insurance agent can help you through the process. And it doesn't mean, we're talking about an umbrella. A lot of people don't even know what it is. And it's just simply purchasing additional coverage to be able to cover you in case that there is a lawsuit based on a car accident. For example, distracted driver. Nowadays we live in unfortunately a world of lawsuits, and so insurance is made for that. It's to protect you against something that's going to be major catastrophic on your pocket. You want to protect that. And so, I think that if you find someone that you're comfortable working with and that can help you through the process, I think that's of a lot of value.
I agree with you. And what would be the most memorable insurance claim that you have helped any of your customers process?
Memorable in...
It could be in a good way, it could be in a sad way, it could be in any way. It's just something that really touched you, something that was memorable.
Yeah, so most of our claims and our major claims are really unfortunate, situations. So when I first started as an agent back in 2000, I remember there was 9/11, and I had my first fire going on here in El Paso, a home that had burned down. And so, of course, I was a brand new agent. I was in shock. And my client was really, really nervous when I met with her because she had to make a list of all her personal belongings and having to, write down an inventory of what the insurance company was going to pay in personal items. And so meeting with her, that it's devastating because she would say, how is the insurance company going to put a price to pictures of my children when they were so young? And so that part is maybe, the reason why I've been in insurance for 25 years, because I know firsthand that when there's something, that drastic, that the company that I represent pays out, So because that was one of my first major claims, I'll never forget it. And I'm just going to tell you 3 if that's okay.
Of course.
The second was there was freeze in, I think it was 2006 or 2008.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm. And I had a client that was out of town. They lived up in the mountain. They were out of town. Their neighbors called them, telling them that there was water gushing out of their garage. They had wooden floors. That loss was about $190,000 of just water damage, and they had been gone for a week. The same, the inventory, the having to be displaced from your home. Living that process with the client, was difficult, but also rewarding to say, well, I have the peace of mind that the insurance company delivered, paid, and that is what we give you, a piece of paper saying, in case that this happens, you're covered.
Mm-hmm.
And in general insurance, the most important policy that we offer, which is life insurance. I had to pay out just last year a claim for a 21-year-old that had passed away, and so those are very difficult claims to handle, but at the same time providing a lot of peace of mind that they were properly covered.
And I hear your voice shaking a little bit, and here, sitting right next to you, I can tell how much it moves you and it touches you to have to assist people when they're in their probably their hardest moments, never imagined moments, of course.
Very vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. But again, it's one thing to navigate this through with I shouldn't say but with the pain of what is happening emotionally in your situation, and then I can't even imagine also having the pain of how am I gonna try to restore my life back to what it used to be. And so this is why you do what you do.
Exactly. That's why I love what I do.
So thank you so much, Yvonne, for sharing all this information with us today. I learned so much. My mind is blown from so much information that I have. Do you have any last words for our listeners?
Not that I can think of. There's just so much, really, when it comes to insurance. I know most people look at it as a expense, but what I tell most people is you need to really put things in perspective. Your home is probably one of your largest assets, for most people. And so why would you not take a few minutes to just review, understand, most importantly, how your insurance works, so that you can make sound decisions, anything that's insurance. Really, there's a lot of ways to control rate with deductibles. People can maybe purchase more coverage in just simply controlling other factors, and that's where, again, I invite most people to really visit, an insurance professional, so that you could tailor something, specifically for your needs, because not everybody has the same needs.
Well, thank you so much again. What an amazing conversation with Yvonne Reese today. I hope this episode gave you clarity on what homeowners insurance is really like, what to look out for, and how to protect your investment the smart way. If you have more questions or want to connect with Yvonne, I will make sure to include her information in the show notes. And as always, if this episode helped you, please take a second to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review, and share it with someone who can benefit. Your support means so much to me, and it helps me bring you real valuable conversations every week. Thanks again for listening to Raw and Real Real Estate. Until next time.